Today I'm talking to Anja Phoenix, the creative inspiration behind exquisite children's story adventures called Tale Trails. But rather than me telling you all about these, let's ask Anja. Good morning, Anja.
Morning.
So please, Anja, tell us what Tale Trails are all about.
So they're little story maps that help families with young children, or actually any age group. I've had people up to the age of 80 doing them as well, but primarily families with younger children. Little story trails to help them get out and about locally, and when they're visiting new places, just to find out a little bit more about that beautiful natural environment on their doorstep. And perhaps a little bit about the legends and the heritage and what's made that place such a special place. I say rural, but actually I've ended up doing quite a lot of urban ones now as well, which has been really interesting.
So when you say a story trail, then is it a map with a story? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so the original format that I did 10 years ago, a little place called Clibbermoss, it was an A2 size map for children because I wanted to see them running around with those maps and having fun and sort of, I guess, starting off with the map reading at a young age. So there was a big A3 colourful map with loads of things to spot. And then on the reverse side, it was a story. And I like to try and link lots of different features from the story onto the map and into the real world so they can actually see these things and be immersed in the story itself.
And has that evolved then? You said that's how you started. Has there been a change over the 10 years?
There has been small changes, but remarkably, they're still really, really similar. So people are still, 90% of clients are still asking for that format. I think it's quite effective and the children seem to really like it. So yeah, I guess if we're doing them for really windy places like the west coast of Cumbria, which I'm working on at the minute, we've reduced those down to a slightly smaller size because the children are sort of getting whacked in the face by these huge maps. So yes, some locations it's definitely better to have a slightly smaller size. And then for other places, like we did one for Appleby Castle, it was more of a sort of a hunt to spot things. So we did little small installations based around the legends of the castle.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. So what made you want to do this in the first place?
Well, I've been working in the outdoors and teaching for a long time. I think I was sort of 35-ish. Yeah, I was sort of mid-30s. And I've done a bit of supply teaching and a bit of geography teacher, PE teacher, and then taken that into the outdoor environment. And I just saw how effective it was taking young people outdoors. And I suppose I had a little bit of a lull in my career and I just thought, I want to do something slightly different. And I was walking with my husband around Lauder, where we lived at the time. And I said, I just don't know what I want to do. There's things that I love and I'm passionate about. I'm not sure that's going to fit into like a kind of regular job. And he said, well, just do what you love. What is it you love? What do you want to do? And I just remember saying to him, it's like a really sort of pivotal conversation. And I just said, I just love exploring new places, new environments and writing about them. And he looked at me and just said, well, do that. And I was like, okay. So that's how it all started. So I just chose somewhere that I thought was really magical, which was a little nature reserve called Clibbermoss near Penrith, and walked around there and made up a story about a grumble trog who's a hairy swamp creature. And that's how it all started.
So you have really strong characters then in these stories. And are they brought to life visually as well? Yeah.
So there's a fantastic graphic designer called Claire Waring, who she's just recently married, actually, Claire Brooke, and she does a lot of the design. So she does all the graphics, and then sometimes I'll do sort of little sketches and send her images of what I'd like the character to look like, with some ideas, and then she does the character illustration, and it all sort of comes together with her.
So what's your favourite character that you've created then?
It's probably still the Grumble Trog from all those years ago.
And what does he do? Is it a he?
Yeah. He's a very old prehistoric swamp man who's been, living and existing around Clibbermoss for many, many years. And he looks quite frightening, but he's actually a gentle giant.
That sounds nice. And I think, this could be a good year because I think you've done some around Hadrian's Wall as well, haven't you? And obviously we've got the 1900th birthday of Hadrian's Wall this year.
Yeah. A few years ago, I did one for Hadrian's Wall, Caulfields, which is sort of halfway along, and then a place called Evering Bell, which is a little bit off the wall, sort of more northeast. And then I've done a few around the Solway as well, and down to sort of Maryport and Ravenglass, which are obviously on that extension of Hadrian's Wall. And then we're doing the 6 as part of the Hidden Cumbrian Coast project up the west coast of Cumbria right now. So we're sort of halfway through those at the minute. So yeah, there was quite a few now actually on the wall.
I think, I live in Lancashire, but I think you've also done some round here as well, haven't you? Places like Fleetwood. Did you do something with Fleetwood?
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing the one at Fleetwood. It was the pavilion, and they'd done a little project around the park. It was during one of the lockdowns, actually, when they asked me to do it, and they were hoping, to encourage children to get back to that area a little bit more as things opened up. And we did one about the pavilion keeper of the Mount, which is obviously a really iconic park there, looking over the estuary. And that was fantastic to do that. And because it was lockdown, it was the first one that I ever did remotely.
Oh, right. So that must have been quite a challenge.
Yeah, it's something that I'd never thought I could possibly do. So I had to use lots of satellite imagery, videos that the tourism department had made, and ordnance survey maps, things like that. So yeah, it's possible to do that, but it's I would always prefer to go to the environment myself, because I get so much inspiration from sitting in that environment that I go to. That's where the stories tend to come from. So yeah, it was different, that one. It was challenging, but I still actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, because your heartland is very much Cumbria, isn't it? So has it been difficult to kind of translate what you do into urban environments? Because you're very much an outdoors girl. Does it make any difference that it's an urban environment for you?
I thought that it would. The first urban one I did was down in London. So it was like, straight down somewhere completely different to Cumbria. And I ended up doing a couple down there because I really enjoyed it. I did one around all the little back streets of Covent Garden, which was fantastic. There's so much around there that you just realise, that little tiny things beneath your feet, things you wouldn't see unless you looked up. So I did one for there with Regatta, the outdoor clothing company. And then I did one around the wetlands in the old Olympic Village, which was really, really interesting to go from such an urban environment to just walking 200 meters around a corner, and then there's being this beautiful wetland just packed full of wildlife. So there's always, doesn't matter what environment you're in, there's always something magical. It's just you've got to look for it.
So you do some trails that you sell yourself, and you do commissions for other clients, don't you? Like Regatta that you've just mentioned. So anybody basically could commission you to write a trail for them, couldn't they?
Yeah. I mean, it started off. It was a bit of a risk, really. I had some savings, which I guess most people would have put into a house deposit or something, but I spent it on printing out the first series. So it was a bit of a risk. It was like, right, my life savings is going into this, and I hope it works. But I had faith, total faith, and just knew in my heart that it would. So it didn't feel scary. And yeah, it took me a few years to start making a profit. But then I think once the word had got out there and spread around, then it's just been really plain sailing since then. And people just come to me now if they feel like they've got, a castle or a nature reserve or somewhere that they'd like to sort of open up and make a bit more accessible to children. And they approach me, usually with a grant, and that's how it works. Yeah.
And do you know which has been your most popular trail? Have you any idea which has sort of ticked the boxes of people most?
From the original series, the one that always sold the most and was downloaded the most was a little one about a Celtic girl that I wrote at Pooley Bridge. And I was never sure whether it was the character itself or the location, because I think there are so many visitors to Pooley Bridge, and so people would automatically just type in walks for families around Pooley Bridge, and that one would come up. It was called Hetty the Carvetti, and that was by far the most popular of that series. Because somewhere like Clibburn Moss, it's completely off the beaten track. It's not in the Lake District. It's in the Eden Valley, and people just wouldn't normally pass there. So yeah, it's interesting to see which have been most popular, and some are just more popular than others, and some people haven't really heard of. And it's really interesting.
And I think a lot of sort of rooted in mythology, aren't they? The sort of characters that have been there in the background in sort of folklore, but you've brought them to life and given them an identity, I guess.
Yeah, I absolutely love looking at the heritage of places. I love looking at where the place names have come from. There's one I'm doing it for Whitehaven at the minute, called Drigg, a place called Drigg, and it's just an interesting name, and it's like, well, where's that come from? And I've read that, it's the Vikings dragged their boat in. It comes from the word drag, because the River Urt follows the beach there, so I don't know if all of these are correct, but I love looking at place names. I love looking at old maps. It's a fantastic website, Scottish Maps. You can access maps from hundreds of years ago to see, how the place names have changed, and certain rocks like Tom Hurd's Rock by Whitehaven. Why is it called that? Finding out about those legends, I just think is absolutely fascinating. And then, I sort of, some of the myths are quite fictional. I, make up a little bit here and there to make it more magical for the children, but that's okay. That's creative writing for you, isn't it?
Yes. And is there a sort of age of child that seems to like these more than others? Is it sort of like 7-8-year-olds, would you say, or?
Yeah, I mean,
parents.
Yeah, it depends on the child. Like my daughter, she's 8 now, but she's sort of very creatively minded, and she enjoyed them from sort of age 3. Whereas my little lad, he's not massively into them at the minute. He's only just turned 4. He likes looking at the map, but less so the story side. Whereas I'd say when I go into schools, that sort of age 6, 7 is a really magical age where their imaginations are just like going crazy. So I think they're the sort of resource that they do different things for children at different ages, and I think that navigation that they can start, they really enjoy doing that maybe at a slightly older age, orientating the map and trying to find something on there and using it more like I guess you would on with your geocaching or learning how to map read, that type of thing. But the story side, I'd say sort of age 6 is a really lovely age for that.
So would you take school children out with a map and do a sort of tour with them? Is that the sort of thing you do with schools, or do you do it in the classroom?
Yeah. I've done work with schools in different ways. There's a lovely little school just south of Penrith called Crosby Ravensworth, and we did a tail trail with them because the children wanted to be involved. So it was lovely because we took them down to the walk on this little private bit of river. And then they actually made all the characters themselves and did the illustrations. We turned them into graphics for them. So they really felt like they'd been part of the story. So that was really lovely. And then we're going to go to St. Bees School on the West Coast at the end of this month as part of the launch for these West Coast ones. And again, they can have a look at what we've come up with so far and perhaps give us some ideas. And then I'm going to take them down to the beach and do some mapping with them. We work with schools in different ways.
Sounds like it's been a really rewarding thing for you to do then. I bet you're glad that you actually used your savings and did this, because it seems like it's transformed your life, really.
I'm really glad that took that risk, although like I say, it didn't feel like a risk because I knew it would work, but I'm really glad that I did that. I was brave and did that. And it's just one of those things, in the last decade of my life that has just been very rewarding, very enjoyable, and it's just been easy. When things are right, they just fall easily into place. It's never been a battle, like some things are, but it's just been very easy and very rewarding.
So if somebody wants to get a tail trail, where can they get one from?
So they can download them for free. I want to make all of these resources free now. I did have to charge it first to make the money back so I could make more. But they're all free now because a lot of them are grant funded, and you just simply go to tailtrails.co.uk and download it from there.
And hope that you've been to their area, I guess.
It is expanding all the time, and it's a good chunk of Cumbria covered, but there's always more to be done.
It's ideal, isn't it, for a family that is visiting Cumbria, because there is probably somewhere that they can go and do a tail trail.
And it's a simple free activity that can sort of open your eyes to things you haven't even thought about and take you to quite magical places off the beaten track. And I think, the best experiences are often free, aren't they? And outdoors. Yeah,
and the memories that you can create around those as well are really special, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, and I've created so many amazing memories doing these, especially with my own children. My daughter, she's home educated, so she can come out and map with me, and we'll go for a little day trip, and it's just wonderful.
Right, well, thank you very much, Anja. That's great. Hopefully we'll get you back on the show and you can talk about the West Coast trails that you're writing, because they sound like a lot of fun. So perhaps we can do another interview about those. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.